I raise the issue of St Aidan's services in Gorey, which I'm understood from the voluntary organisation that is threatened with imminent closure. St Aidan's services in Gorey provide day, residential, respite, preschool, elderly services, training services across Wexford, and also provides Meals on Wheels. It's in its current location for 36 years and was established in 1968. It has over 300 service users per annum and has 130 staff. Yet this week the staff are going to be paid in a delayed basis because of what the St Aidan say is a shortage of funding coming from the HSE that was promised to them. The service users, their families and staff have been informed that the centre is in imminent danger of closure unless the finances are addressed as a matter of urgency. The issue has reached a crisis point. As you can imagine, the information that has been provided has caused huge amounts of distress to the staff, to the service users and to their families. I'm told that a core deficit was identified in 2016 and the HSE agreed in 2016 to provide funding to the organisation to address that core financial deficit. The deficit arose as a result of the organisation providing HSE services but without HSE funding. Additional costs have been incurred as a result of upgrading required to meet HICWA standards. This year the HSE has a budget of €17 billion and the money required to keep vital services open and 130 staff employed is a minuscule part of that. The high-quality services and experience of the staff would be irreplaceable should the services shut down, and the cost of providing alternative services to service users will be far in excess of the money that is not being provided. St Aidan's and Gorey is not looking for any special treatment. They are simply looking for fairness and for the HSE to honour what they say was an agreement made with them. St Aidan's services in Gorey provide outstanding care in Gorey and also the service users in Enniscorthy, New Ross, Wexford Town and throughout the South East. And as I say, Minister, the latest information this week is that the staff who were meant to be paid today will not be now paid until tomorrow. But the HSE has now come and looked for a €100,000 rebate to be paid in December, which will be deducted from December's payment. And what I've been told is that means effectively there is not going to be enough money to pay the staff in December. This issue has been going on for 4 years. Various people have raised this issue now for almost 4 years. And there is no resolution in sight, and it is a matter of absolute urgency that this matter is addressed. It has reached a crisis point, and as I understand it, the whole situation now is about to collapse.
Just to again apologise for the Deputy Minister McGrath not being here, and I am taking it on his behalf, but I am, as you already know, a Minister of State in the Health Department, and I will, when asked, try and facilitate as many of the ministers as possible to be here on their behalf. On behalf of Minister McGrath, I wish to thank the Deputy Browne for raising the issue of funding in relation to St Aidan's Care Service in Gorey, County Wexford. The Government's ongoing priority is to safeguard of vulnerable people in care of the health service. We are committed to providing services and support for people with disabilities in County Wexford to provide a range of services for adults and children with intellectual disabilities, which include residential care, day services for adults with disabilities, preschool education for children with disabilities, day activations, a rehabilitative training, a garden centre and respite services for children with high support needs. St Aidan's received funding under Section 39 of the Health Act from the HSE and is scheduled to receive €5 million in 2018. St Aidan's has identified defects in the HSE in the agency core funding and costs associated with HICWA compliance and has indicated that this may affect the service they provide.
So it is, and this particular case gives rise to why this is an issue. The staff are being paid a day late this week. I've been told there's not going to be enough money to pay the staff in December. There's 300 service users. Everybody's under distress in this situation. The staff, the service users and their families. And the answer that has been typed out here, Minister, for you to read out in the Chamber, doesn't answer any of those questions. It doesn't address the situation that has been ongoing issues between St Aidan's and the HSE over funding for in particular the last 2.5 years. It doesn't address anything to do with that. It doesn't say that the Minister is going to engage with the situation either with St Aidan's or the HSE. There's no solutions or proposed solutions or ideas to get around and deal with this situation. So we're going home here today none the wiser. I mean, most of the answer here is just telling us what we already know. And I mean, what is the Minister saying to these staff who are being paid late through no fault of St Aidan's, they don't have the funding, to the families, to the service users? And is there going to be any intervention in this situation? HSE CHO5, as I understand it, are saying they have no money to pay. They've run out of cash as well. And the matter has gone up the line, as I understand it as well, to senior HSE management. Again, that's not addressed in here. But Minister, look, the HSE and the Department of Health has been given fair warning about this situation. It has been outreached a crisis point. They've been given fair warning about the crisis situation it is in. And if this matter does fall apart over the next few weeks, well, I mean, it will be on your own doorsteps. Thank you.
Thanks again, Corla. I don't have anything much to add to Deputy Browne's contribution there at the last piece. I don't have any of the initial answers to what he's asked. I suppose for me, the question was centred around urgent providing funding to avoid the closure of St Aidan's Care Centre in Gorey. I don't know anything about why staff haven't been paid, so I can't actually answer that part of it for you. But I will assure you that I will assure you, Deputy, that I will bring back your very relevant concerns to the Minister on my way back up and ask that they may be forwarded to you in reply, because I have taken notes of it and I'll make sure that that will happen. But I don't have those specific questions even in the reply I have, and even in the other material that I have with me, so I can't answer one or two of those questions for you. Thanks.
Seriousness of the issue, if maybe the line minister would meet with Deputy Browne.
Well, I'll relay his concerns now when I go back up. I will, yes.
It could be helpful to finding a resolution
I will relay
to the matter. Now, I must